last lecture for the semester. So I'm very excited actually. We made it.
So we have actually finished the whole thing, the whole portion for finance?
Yes, we did, yeah.
So we're not going to have anything after this?
No, we are not going to have anything after this. I will have only one more session, and that will be actually regarding the exam, that how we are going to conduct the exam.
And how are you going to do that, sir?
Okay. Somebody raised a hand, so please unmute yourself, and then you can share your ideas.
Sir, my question was like, are we gonna have any presentations for the project or not?
We will have presentation for the project, yeah.
Sir, how are we gonna do that? Like, are we gonna send you like our recorded presentations, or is it gonna be in a live session?
It will be a live session just like this one, okay?
Yes, sir.
We will do it actually in two different sessions. I'll communicate you the dates and the timing.
Yes, sir.
So, all
right, sir.
First thing, you have to submit your report by end of the deadline. Okay, so I'll go through the reports and I'll make some notes, and then I'll communicate with you the presentation dates and time, right? So it will be like a group activity, means like everybody has to be present. So the group will actually present, the project, and then we will have, let's say, 5 to 10 minutes like for question answers. Okay.
Yes, sir, I got it. Thank you, sir.
You're welcome. Okay, so we are waiting for 2 more students, 159 and 157. So if you can hear me, I'm not sure if they are part of the, live session right now. Anyways, let's start our topic for today. So today is actually the second session on Islamic finance, okay? Islamic finance, actually, I uploaded one lecture yesterday. I covered briefly like Islamic financing, why do we need it, what are the objectives of Islamic finance. So one of the main objective of Islamic finance was actually to bring equity in the society. So it does not aim for equality. So if you can see this picture, this is actually for a typical equality. So whatever you earn, right? Whatever you earn in a country, country is just like a family, right? You distribute everything equally, okay? Okay, apologize. So you distribute everything equally, okay? This is not what Islamic finance is actually aiming for. Islamic finance or Islamic financial system, it aims actually for equity, right? So let's say a more disadvantaged individuals, actually they get a larger share of the what is called the income or profits, or let's say benefits. Okay, and once you bring equity in the society, then of course everybody is at par, and then they can enjoy collectively some of the social benefits that it brings. So in my yesterday lecture, actually I talked about 3 financial systems. So one was like countries which are like socialists, okay? So socialistic, those countries are actually following socialist economics agenda, right? Other ones are capitalist. Okay, and the other one is Islamic, actually. Okay, so socialism, what they do, they are actually aiming for equality. Okay, capitalist, they do not aim for anything. So everybody is free, and based on their hard work, actually they make money, and then they do not distribute it in any other form. Although those countries have taxation. So taxation, of course, you generate some revenues to run the country, but at the same time, taxation system actually brings what's it called? Distribution of income. Okay. So for example, let's say in countries like Canada, rich people are taxed high, right? And then poor people are taxed low. The whole purpose is actually to minimize what they call income equality. Okay. So taxation, of course, it's meant for generating revenues for the government, but at the same time, it aims at bringing income equality. Okay, so I was reading this morning, and this thing will actually this thing blow off my mind actually. So for example, 10 richest people in the world, so 10 richest individuals, they own more than 85 countries' GDP. And I have numbers with me. So 85 countries, their total GDP is $813 billion. Okay, and these 10 richest people in the world, they actually make $853 billion. Okay, so just imagine, I mean, the kind of inequality that we have right now. The 10 richest individuals own more than actually 85 countries of the world. Okay, so Islamic financial system actually does not aim for equality, rather it goes for equity. In today's lecture, we will cover different Islamic modes of financing. Okay, so as a finance manager, of course, you're making investment decisions. Okay, so investment decisions, then you are making financing decisions, and then you're making asset management decisions. Okay, the first and foremost thing, Islamic finance is actually the main driving factor is actually it's a what is called faith-based system. Okay, so everything, the principles for Islamic economics or Islamic finance, okay, we are getting it from either Quran or Hadith. Okay, so it's a faith-based system. So it's a faith-based system. Okay, and as I said, aims for equity. Okay, so these are the key takeaways from my last lecture. The other one, you cannot actually engage in a business which is haram. So no business which is haram. Okay. So for example, let's say if you're working for a bank, you cannot lend to, let's say, casinos. Okay. Or let's say if you think that, okay, this particular individual, sorry, group of individuals, let's say, like in some countries, especially in what's it called? Not North America, but South America. Individuals, they form group, then they borrow from banks. So borrow from banks. Okay. And then onward, they lend it. And they lend it to poor people. Okay. And these are actually former money lenders. And money lenders, they charge huge interest rate. Okay. So for example, as a bank, if you know that the individual who applied, let's say, for some loans, those individuals are involved, let's say, in money lending, of course, you cannot do business with those people, right? So you can engage only with those people who are doing halal business. Okay. Another example is, let's say, if somebody is in liquor business. Okay. So if somebody is selling liquor, you cannot do business with them. So it has to be a halal business. Okay. The other key takeaway was there was a concept riba. Okay, so riba is prohibited. Okay, and riba actually, one definition is it's excess. So this is like the translation from Arabic, excess, right? So let's say if you decide anything in advance, okay, so for example, the bank decides that, okay, I'll give you, let's say 100 million rupees, okay, 12%. So this is a predetermined, it's predetermined. Okay, in other words, it's ex ante determination, okay, of the interest rate. What is interest? This is actually cost of financing, right? So if you predetermine it, okay, this is riba. You cannot charge any excess amount. So suppose if you lend $100 million or rupees, okay, and of course, if you decide that, okay, I will charge you 12%, so this 12% is actually excess and it is predetermined, okay? The banks in this situation, they do not share risk. So they do not, the bank do not share risk, okay? Which means that the bank is not concerned, or let's say in a little bit harsh words, they do not care if your business makes money or not. They are only concerned about their own lending, their own money, okay? So that in conventional financial system, they do not share risk with you, okay? They only share benefit with you, that's it, okay? So one of the classic like translation was of riba was excess, right? The other is actually exploitation. Okay, and yesterday I give you an example that let's say if somebody is in need, for example, let's say somebody needs, this is although a very, very simple example, but let's say if somebody needs bread, okay, the person is extremely hungry, right? And you have, let's say you have 2 loaves of bread, okay? You can charge this person like any money, maybe probably the whole fortune, whatever that individual earn, I mean, throughout his life or her life, okay? So whenever you think that, okay, this individual will pay anything because this individual needs the spread now, and you charge what they call exorbitant, which is like extremely high, exorbitant price, right? Or a price which is exploitative, right? That exploitation is actually prohibited. It's riba, okay? Of course, in normal trade, what do? You buy something for 10 rupees. Of course, you are free to sell it, let's say, for 12, okay? And that's why you make money. So making money is not forbidden in Islam, right? It's of course allowed. But let's say if you would like to exploit somebody, that is riba, that is not allowed, okay? So Islamic financial system, number one, you have to engage in halal business. And the other thing is you have to share risk with that individual, and you cannot charge anything in excess, which is like predetermined interest rate. And of course, you cannot exploit someone. So that is the key takeaway from my yesterday lecture. At one point in time, I mentioned that cash, if you are holding cash, it is what they call potential capital. Okay, it is potential capital. Okay, so this is not capital in the true sense, and it is potential. It will only become capital, let's say, if it joins hand with some other resources like labor. Okay, then it becomes a capital. Okay, if let's say if this cash is sitting in your vault, right, in any, let's say, in any safety box or anything, or anything like in your pocket, it's not capital, it's a potential capital, right? Once this cash joins hands with something else, like some other resources, then it becomes a true capital. Okay, so in today's lecture, I will actually talk about some popular, I'm not saying that this is like the full list of Islamic modes of financing. There are many more, but these are the most popular one. Okay. At the end of this lecture, I have given one link. It is from Mizan Bank. Okay, so Mizan Bank. Mizan Bank had actually a PowerPoint presentation on their website. Okay, very, very informative. So please, if you would like to read further, go to their website. I have already given you the link, and you can watch, or you can actually learn about other modes of financing as well in detail. So today I will touch upon only 4, and I will touch upon them briefly, not in detail. Okay. So the first one is musharaka. Musharaka, as the name suggests, it's sharing. Okay, and the root word is actually shirka. Okay, like shirkat in Urdu. Okay, so what do? You are sharing. Okay, and what do you share? Musharaka is basically a kind of partnership. So it's a partnership in which the partners join together with different contributions, work or obligations. Okay, so the musharaka, actually the partnership and contribution of the partner does not have to be equal. Okay, so somebody may contribute more capital, somebody may contribute less capital, right? Somebody may contribute, let's say, more hours of work towards the business. Some may actually contribute less. So the degree of contribution may be different. Okay, and of course, they're working for a common objective to undertake business and trade in accordance with principles of Sharia. Now, in all modes of financing, this is like the common denominator. That mode of financing has to be compliant with principles of Sharia. And one principle was that we have to engage with those individuals who are doing halal business. Okay? It is an ideal alternative for interest-based financing. Okay, when I was a young officer in the State Bank of Pakistan back in the days, okay, Islamic modes of financing were debated. Okay, different scholars actually had different views on different financing modes. Some scholars thought that okay, this particular, let's say, mode is compliant with Sharia. The other would think otherwise. They thought that it's not. Okay, one mode of financing which all scholars actually respect and which they think that it is compliant with principles of Sharia without any shade of doubt, it's actually musharaka. Okay, so in musharaka, of course, you share capital. Okay, you share also work, and you share also obligations, and of course, the degree of contribution can be different. Okay. But what do you do in essence? Actually, you are sharing risk as well, okay? Because if you see here, the contract of musharaka can take place between 2 or more persons with the capital contributed by the partners. So the partners contribute capital and the profit to be distributed among them according to the rates agreed upon, okay? So this rate is actually agreed in advance, agreed in advance. Okay, and it's not only, I apologize, so it's not only profit, it's actually also loss. Okay, so I'll give you an example. So for example, let's say there are 2 partners, A and B, okay, and they've been to a partnership, musharaka, right? Both of them contributed, let's say, this one contributed, let's say, 4 million rupees. This one contributed, let's say, 6 million rupees, okay? So our total capital is of course 10 million, okay? And they agreed that, okay, we will share profit and loss in this ratio, okay? So A gets 40% and B gets 60%, okay? After 1 year, let's say if they earn 500,000, or let's say, assume, let's say, just for the sake of simplicity, 5 million profit, okay? Okay, so A gets how much? 40% of this is 2 million, and the remaining goes to B, which is 60%, 3 million. Okay, but what if, let's say, if this enterprise, or let's say if this business made a loss of, let's say, 4 million loss with negative sign, okay? So A shares actually the loss, how much? So 1.6 million goes to A, it's minus sign again, and then minus, sorry, minus 60% of, so 2.4 million, okay? So the rate, the most important thing is the rate is agreed in advance, and they share loss and profit in the same ratio or the same rate that whatever they agreed, okay? So in a way, they are sharing risk, which is actually a fundamental feature of Islamic economics, okay? The second mode of financing is ijara, okay? Normally we call it leasing, okay? But leasing contract, if you compare it with ijara contract, okay, ijara contract is different, okay? So not all leasing contracts are actually what is called Sharia compliant, okay? So it's actually the contract which makes one product, we call it also product. These are financial products, okay? So it's the contract which makes one product Sharia compliant and the other product which is not Sharia compliant, okay? So ijara literally means to give something on rent, okay? The term ijara is used in two situations, okay? So if somebody would like to get services of another person, okay? So you can get services on rent, or you can get the use of an asset on rent, and both of them can be considered as ijara, okay? So for example, in the first situation, an individual A hires a porter at the airport to carry his or her luggage, right? So in a way, this individual A is hiring services of that individual, okay? And then whatever this individual pays to the service provider, it's like a paying rent for that service, okay? Another type of ijara relates to paying of the rent for use of an asset or property defined as land in Islamic economics, okay? So whenever you see land in Islamic economics, okay, it means asset, okay? And I'm sorry, yesterday I made a mistake. I thought that the presentation that I benefited from was from Dr. Tahir. They were actually not from Dr. Tahir. They were from Dr. Zulfikar Ali Shah, okay, who is a PhD in Islamic microfinance. So I would like to make that correction. Ijara is an Islamic alternative of leasing. As I said, conventional banks, they offer leasing contracts, but not all leasing contracts are actually Sharia compliant. So please be careful, okay? So leasing backed by an acceptable contract is an acceptable transaction under, so the transaction itself should be Sharia compliant, like halal business, okay? The question of whether or not the transaction of leasing is Sharia compliant depends on the terms of the contract, okay? So this is simple. Several characteristics of conventional agreements. So this is my point. So not all leasing contracts are actually Sharia compliant. So please be careful, okay? So whenever somebody says that, okay, I leased something because I thought that it's Sharia compliant, he or she actually may be wrong, because it's the contract itself which makes a product compliant or not compliant. Okay, what are the key differences of ijara? Risk and rewards of the ownership lie with the owner. So suppose there is a bank, which is lessor, and let's say an individual A, okay? This one is lessee, okay? This individual actually wanted to, let's say, lease a car, okay? So this individual is a lessee, okay? Now, in the lease contract, like in typical ijara, which is like Sharia compliant, the risk and reward actually lies with the ownership. So let's say if this individual A leases a car under ijara contract, actually the risk and the risk lies actually, the risk and reward both lies actually with the owner, with the bank. So let's say if something happens to the asset, it's actually bank's loss, not the lessee's loss. Okay. On the other hand, lease contracts like from conventional banks, actually they do not transfer. I mean, they transfer the risk to the lessee. But in a ijara contract, actually the risk and reward both lies with the owner. So that's the key difference. Okay. So any loss to the asset beyond the control of the lessee should be borne by the lessor. Okay. There is no let penalty. Okay. So you cannot levy any penalty on those individuals, because in Islamic finance, there is another thing that all costs associated with the contract has to be disclosed beforehand, before the contract. So since you cannot, what's called, anticipate any late payments, if some individuals, let's say, do happen to pay, let's say, their payments a little bit late, the banks cannot levy any late charges on that individual. Okay, it may be what you call like it may be like a moral hazard. It may create a moral hazard in the contract, because some individual might intentionally opt not to pay those installments actually on time. But since the ownership lies with the bank, they can easily actually take their asset back. Okay. Lease and sale agreement should be separate and non-contingent. So both the lease and the sale contract. So the way lease works, actually, this individual A approaches bank, let's say Mizan Bank in this situation. Okay. This bank actually, and let's say this is a car dealership. So there is a lease contract between these individuals, okay, and there is a sale contract going on at the same time as well, okay. So actually, the banks in a way sells this car actually to the bank, okay, and the bank then leases it to individual A. Now, there are two contracts involved in this transaction. Both lease and sale contract has to be separate and non-contingent. Okay, so one cannot, let's say, be dependent on the other. So contract has to be separate. They have to be independent of each other. Mudaraba. Mudaraba is like asset management. Okay, this is a kind of partnership where one partner gives money to another for investing in a commercial enterprise. Okay, so one partner actually, which is the investment comes from first partner, and in Arabic it's called Rabbul Mal. It's like the investor. So suppose there are two individuals, A and B. Okay, B has, let's say, some surplus capital. Right? This B actually gives capital to A. So B is actually this Rabbul Mal, okay? And the other person who is managing that fund, it's actually the entrepreneur, and it's called Mudarib, okay? So Mudarib, his or her contribution is actually her or his entrepreneurship skills and the work that he or she is putting towards their business. Rabbul Mal is only contributing the capital. So one partner is contributing capital, and the other partner is actually managing those funds and running the business. In a way, they're working actually to make some money. Profit is shared on agreed ratio. Okay, again, the profit ratio has to be agreed in advance. Okay, so suppose, let's say, if it's a business where the Rabbul Mal, the investor, let's say, takes 30%, okay, and let's say the entrepreneur, which is the Mudarib takes, let's say, the remaining 70%, okay. In case of Mudaraba, all losses are borne by Rabbul Mal. So this is the difference between a Musharka and Mudaraba, okay. Musharka, actually both partners are sharing capital, but in Mudaraba, capital is shared by one partner and the other partner is entrepreneur. Now, if something happens, if some losses are, like if they make profit, of course, they distribute that profit as per agreed ratio. But the losses are all borne by the investor. The person who is actually contributing, who is the entrepreneur, he or she does not take any losses. His or her only loss is that the business did not make money, that the business did not make money. Okay, so whatever hard work, for example, if this individual was working, let's say 10 hours a day, of course he or she is not get paid for that hours. Okay, so their loss is actually their unpaid work, put it that way. Okay, murabaha. Now murabaha is a particular kind of sale and not a financing in its origin. Okay, and it's a particular sale where the transaction is done by cost plus profit. Okay, so it's like a markup type of financing mode. Okay, but there are some conditions to it. The seller discloses the cost, so the seller has to disclose the cost. Okay, the seller has to disclose the cost to the buyer and adds a certain profit, and this profit is also known. Okay, so the cost is disclosed to the buyer, and then a certain profit which is known to both the parties, it is also disclosed to the buyer. And then, of course, after adding the profit, you arrive at the final selling price. Okay, and these are the two what is called the distinguishing features. Okay, so cost has to be shown to the buyer, and also the profit has to be declared to the buyer. Okay, so all what's this called, the purchase price, the profit, everything is known. Okay, so this is a very, very transparent business. Okay, now the payment, how the payment is made. Okay, it can be made at spot. Okay, it can be made in installments. Okay, and it can be made in lump sum after a certain time. Okay, murabaha does not necessarily imply the concept of deferred payment. Okay, and these are some basic rules. So the asset which is sold, okay, it should exist. So for example, bank, and again an individual A, okay, and let's say if it's a murabaha financing, okay, the bank cannot sell an asset to this individual, okay, if it does not exist, right? So let's say if the bank is hoping to buy something in future, but they would like to sell it today, okay, they cannot do that. Okay, so the asset should exist. That's the whole point. Sale price should be determined, of course, same point, and the sale must be unconditional. So you can, the bank or the individual cannot attach any condition to the sale agreement. So in Islamic financing, the contracts are actually unconditional. You cannot make it dependent on certain events or something else. Okay. The other thing, again, as I said, it's a common denominator. The asset should not be used for un-Islamic purposes. Okay, and the asset to be sold should be in ownership of the seller. Yeah, so this is the first point. Okay. So the way it works, so suppose this individual A needs, for example, let's say a hi-fi printer for his or her office, right? But he or she cannot afford, let's say, to buy it in cash. What this individual does, goes to, let's say, bank. For example, this is Islamic bank, right? This Islamic bank actually appoints this individual as agent. Okay, so this agent is working on behalf of the bank, goes to, let's say, a store and buys this printer. Okay, but this printer is actually bought for the bank. Okay, it's bought for the bank. Once this printer becomes in the possession of the bank, then bank sells this printer to this individual. Okay, so let's say if the printer costed 50,000 rupees, okay, the bank adds a certain profit. Okay, for example, let's say 7,000. Okay, and sells this for 75,000 rupees to individual A. Now, this money can be, let's say, paid in lump sum after, let's say, 5 years. Let's say if it's a 5 years, okay? Or maybe this individual can pay in installments, okay? So this is the way a murabaha transaction works, okay? It's like a markup kind of a thing, okay? So the banks actually add a markup to a price, and then they sell it. But the cost of the good and actually profit has to be declared to this individual. Okay, I will stop here. This was my presentation for today. As I said, there are some resources. This is a super good resource, especially, let's say, if you would like to know more about Islamic financing, especially the first video. It's actually recorded in Urdu. It's a very, very good video. So let's say if you would like to know about the philosophy behind Islamic financing or Islamic economics, okay, you can watch the first video actually in this link. I have actually compiled a 6-page document for you. I absolutely, I copied it verbatim, like word for word, from State Bank of Pakistan website, okay. I have already uploaded that document on CMS, okay. So please go through that. For exam, the only reference that I'm hoping that you will actually go through is slides, okay. So whatever I uploaded yesterday and whatever I will upload today, this is the material that you should be able to actually understand. And let's say if there is any question in the exam, it will be actually mainly based on those, what is called, PowerPoint slides. I will open the floor now for any questions. So please feel free, unmute yourself, and you're more than welcome to ask me any questions. Azam, can you hear me?
Yes, sir, I can hear you.
Okay, perfect. So, as I said at the beginning of my lecture, I'll once I receive project reports, okay, and once I grade them, the next step would be I'll actually make a schedule and then I'll communicate it with you, and then we can have presentations, okay. Exam, most likely it will be after July 10. Okay, so in the next, not in the next, I'll decide about that one as well, and then I can communicate with you. So we will hold maybe a 10-15 minutes session, and I would not actually encourage, but I would say that it's like absolutely mandatory that all of you actually be part of that session, because in that session I'll be talking about exam, okay, that how are we going to conduct that exam, okay.
Okay.
Again, it was absolutely wonderful to have you as my students, okay. And today the reason I'm excited because we met it. Yes, the last 1.5 months was difficult, okay, but we met it. Please go through my recordings, okay. If you have any questions, you're more than welcome to ask me those questions. Send me an email or maybe ask me those questions on WhatsApp. Okay, somebody raised a hand, so please, yeah, unmute yourself and go ahead.
अस्सलाम वालेकुम सर।
वालेकुम अस्सलाम।
सर अहमद अब्दाली बात कर रहा हूँ।
जी अब्दाली।
सर मैं पूछना चाहता हूँ कि सिलेबस क्या होगा फाइनल एग्जाम के लिए?
देखिए फाइनल एग्जाम टेक्निकली, ठीक है, उसमें कोर्स कंटेंट पूरा होगा, सारे चैप्टर्स, ठीक है
जो हमने मेट से पहले पढ़ा था और अभी जो पढ़ा सब कुछ
जी, ठीक है। लेकिन ये है कि चूंकि मिड का मैं ऑलरेडी टेस्ट कर चुका हूं, ठीक है, तो व्हाट आई एम प्लानिंग कि जो पोस्ट मिड है, ठीक है, उसका वेट ज्यादा होगा,
सही है सर।
ठीक है।
ओके सर।
लेकिन चूंकि ये फाइनल एग्जाम है, एक्सपेक्टेशन ये है कि आप सारा मटेरियल देखेंगे।
सर लेकिन एक और पॉइंट सर, जी की एडमिन ने बताया था कि 24 जुलाई को फाइनल एग्जाम होंगे और सर अभी आपने मेंशन किया कि 10 जुलाई को फाइनल होगा।
नहीं, मैंने कहा 10 जुलाई के बाद,
सही है सर।
ठीक है। सो लेट्स से इफ आई सेड इट इनकरेक्टली, आई अपोलोजाइज फॉर दैट, ठीक है। 10th के बाद, ठीक है,
Okay,
10th के बाद कोई भी डेट हो सकती है, ठीक है। अब वो डेट हम आपको कम्युनिकेट कर लेंगे। जो मेरे ख्याल में आपके लिए इम्पोर्टेंट चीज़ है वो ये समझना कि एग्जाम का फॉर्मेट क्या होगा, ठीक है। उसके लिए हम एक सेशन रखेंगे, ठीक है। लेट मी गेट सम क्लैरिटी फ्रॉम एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन फर्स्ट, ठीक है। जब वो क्लैरिटी आएगी, आई एम वेटिंग फॉर दैट, ठीक है, तो फिर हम बैठ के इसके ऊपर 10-15 मिनट्स में भी 20 मिनट्स उसके ऊपर गपशप कर लेंगे। मैं आपको बता दूंगा कि एग्जाम्स हम कैसे कंडक्ट करेंगे। आइडियल नहीं होगा, ठीक है, आइडियल नहीं होगा, लेकिन ये है कि इस सिचुएशन में हम जो कर सकते हैं बस वही होगा, ठीक है। जो बेस्ट अवेलेबल ऑप्शन है हम उसी की तरफ जाएंगे, ठीक है। Somebody else raised hand, so please, yeah, feel free, unmute करें and then अगर आपको कोई question है, please go ahead.
Sir, do we have any more assignments to go for, or the project is just the last thing before finals?
Before finals, मतलब ये कि last, अब और कोई करने की जरूरत नहीं है, सिर्फ project और final.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
You are very welcome. Anything else?
Sir,
Yes.
excuse me, sir.
Sir,
Okay, one by one.
Najak sir, go first.
Asad, ठीक है, Asad, go ahead.
सर मेरी अटेंडेंस का मसला है, वो आप अपलोड कर लें, अपडेट कर लें CMS पे।
अटेंडेंस का क्या मसला है असद?
कि अपडेटेड नहीं है CMS पे।
CMS में अपडेटेड नहीं है, ठीक है।
जी
I'll actually ask उबैद, ठीक है, क्योंकि अटेंडेंस का रिकॉर्ड उसने रखा हुआ है, ठीक है, क्योंकि बिफोर मिड टर्म हम तो मतलब उसका पेपर लेते थे ना, पेपर के थ्रू,
जी
तो उसके पास रिकॉर्ड है, वही कर सकता है कि मतलब कितने आपने अटेंड किए हैं, कितने आपने अटेंड नहीं किए।
हाँ सर, वो याद है मैंने आपको साइन करवाया था, वो लास्ट डे आई थिंक 1 डे बिफोर मिड्स, वो शीट जो साइन करवाई थी अटेंडेंस की, वही शीट है।
वही शीट है, उसने
जी
की थी आपसे साइन?
आपने साइन करवाया, उसने अपडेट नहीं की, CMS पे अपडेट नहीं की है।
तो कहने का मकसद ये है कि असल में उसका एक्सेस मेरे पास नहीं है, वो पेपर वर्जन में मेरे पास नहीं है कुछ, ठीक
अच्छा
है।
सर, आप उसे कह दें सर, वो
मैं उबैद से कह रहता हूँ, ठीक है। बल्कि उबैद का नंबर आपके पास भी होगा तो आप उनको बेशक, मैं बल्कि कह रहता हूँ, कोई इशू नहीं है, ठीक है।
थैंक यू सर।
यू आर वेरी वेलकम, कोई बात नहीं है, ठीक है। आपको एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन ने असद तो नहीं बताया कि आप करें?
जी
आपको एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन ने ये बताया है कि आपकी अटेंडेंस CMS पे अपडेटेड नहीं है?
नहीं, मैंने खुद चेक किया था कल।
ठीक है, कोई बात नहीं है, वो हम उसको देख लेंगे, वो कोई बड़ा इशू नहीं है, ठीक है।
ऑलराइट, थैंक यू सर।
यू वेलकम। ओके, नेक्स्ट। अच्छा सॉरी, कोई और भी कुछ कहना चाह रहा था?
sir, I had a question regarding the project about vertical analysis.
ओके,
Sir, when we're finding out the values for the vertical analysis,
Okay.
does the sum of all of that has to be 100%, or can it exceed that, or can it be lower than that?
No, it cannot exceed 100%. If you remember, in one of my lectures, actually, I did vertical analysis. Okay.
Yes, sir. And you said that it has to be 100%.
It has to be 100%. Okay. Then I think Miraj approached me, and we were discussing something, and I told him that, look, in order to make it 100%, you have to add these individual items, right? So he told me that, okay, since you did not clearly mention that in the lecture, so in the next lecture, actually, I clarified it. Okay. So if you go to the second lecture on vertical analysis, I actually talked about that.
All right, sir. I'll look into it. Thank you, sir.
You're very welcome. So it should add up to.
सर एक बात पूछनी है सर, ये वर्टिकल एनालिसिस में हमारा ये जो इशू आ रहा है, ये क्यों आ रहा है, आप काइंडली बता सकते हैं? मतलब हम कुछ वो गलत कर रहे हैं, या हमारे हेड्स के अंदर जो वैल्यूज हैं वो हम गलत कैलकुलेट कर रहे हैं, क्या है मसला? काइंडली प्लीज बता दें।
क्या आ रहा है उसमें, उसको थोड़ा सा
सर वो ये 100 से बढ़ रहा है ना हमारा 100%।
अच्छा, मैं आपको बता दूं क्यों बढ़ रहा है वो। मैं चलिए मैं अभी आपको बता देता हूँ, ठीक है। let me show it to you. Okay. मैं एग्रो फर्टिलाइजर्स का खोल रहा हूँ, ठीक है। तो लेट्स सी, अच्छा, I'm almost there, so please be patient with me. अच्छा, अभी मैं आपके साथ शेयर कर रहा हूँ, ठीक है। Can you see this balance sheet?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Yes, sir. Aksa, this was also your question, so please pay attention. Okay.
Yes, sir. एक ही ग्रुप है हमारा।
अच्छा, एक ही ठीक है, एक ही टीम है। That's good. Okay. So this is balance sheet. Okay, and asset side of the balance sheet.
Yes, sir.
ठीक है। तो वर्टिकल एनालिसिस में हम कर दे क्या है, ठीक है। हम ये वाला जो आपके एसेट्स हैं, ठीक है, ये वाले एसेट्स, ठीक है, सारे इंडिविजुअल आइटम को हम इस टोटल एसेट से डिवाइड करके ना इसको 100 से मल्टीप्लाई करते हैं, ठीक है। तो अब प्रॉब्लम कहाँ पे आ रहा है? प्रॉब्लम यहाँ पे आ रहा है, ठीक है। अगर हम इसको डिवाइड करते हैं, इसको डिवाइड करते हैं, इसको डिवाइड करते हैं, आपके पास यहाँ पे नंबर्स आते जाएंगे, ठीक है। लेकिन आप लोग कर क्या रहे हैं कि आप लोग जब ऐड कर रहे हैं ना, तो उसमें ये करंट एसेट्स, ये जो लाइन के नीचे आ रहा है ना, जिसको अभी मैंने हाईलाइट किया हुआ है, ठीक है, तो इसका जो परसेंटेज आ रहा है ना, आप वो भी ऐड कर रहे हैं। इसको ऐड इसलिए नहीं करना चाहिए कि दिस इज ऑलरेडी अ सम ऑफ दीज 3 इंडिविजुअल नंबर्स, ठीक है। तो अगर आप इन तीनों को भी करते हैं और साथ फिर ये भी करते हैं, तो इट मींस कि आप इसको डबल ऐड कर रहे हैं।
डबल कर लेंगे सर, ठीक है,
ठीक है। तो आपको क्या करना चाहिए? आपको सिर्फ ये इंडिविजुअल, ठीक है, ये जो मैं हाईलाइट कर रहा हूँ, ये करना चाहिए, ठीक है, ये इंडिविजुअल आइटम्स करनी चाहिए, ठीक है। अगर मैंने ये भी ऐड कर लिया, ठीक है, तो इसका मतलब है कि मैंने करंट एसेट्स फिर डबल ऐड कर लिया, ठीक है। तो आपको ये थोड़ा सा ध्यान रखना चाहिए कि आप आइटम्स को 2 दफा ऐड ना करें, पुट इट दैट वे। अगर हम इंडिविजुअल आइटम्स को करेंगे लीविंग आउट द टोटल्स, तो फिर आपका सम 100 के बराबर होना चाहिए,
ठीक है सर। थैंक यू सो मच।
ठीक है,
थैंक यू सो मच।
ओके Aksa, do you want to have let's say a short session on your what's okay with your teammates, because you had lots of questions and I thought I'll call
yes,
you.
sir. Yes, sir. I'll ask them again that if they're available, then we can have it because I want to go through it before submitting it.
Okay. So, any other question, students?
Sir,
Please.
can we have can we have assignments of or projects to assess us instead of the finance?
Instead
I
of the
mean,
finance?
can you not? Yeah, instead of the finance, can you grade us on the assignments and projects?
There are actually some recommendations from Higher Education Commission. Okay, so we have to do final assessment based on those recommendations. Okay, and then we had a departmental meeting the other day, and we are actually devising an assessment policy. Okay, so whatever can be done, we will do it. Okay, but of course, I mean, we will do assessment in one way or the other. Okay.
Okay,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
So they haven't decided on a policy till now.
It is very, very close to approval. I mean, for approval.
Okay, so which one? Because I think AGC gave 3 recommendations in the meetings of vice chancellors and others.
They did, yeah. They did.
सर
Yes.
सर जो एंग्रो में दो पॉइंट एनालिसिस हुआ है वो कंसोलिडेटेड हेलो सर
I apologize. I cannot hear you properly.
सर एंग्रो में दो पॉइंट एनालिसिस जो हुआ है वो स्टैंडर्ड से हुआ है, स्टैंडर्ड फाइनेंशियल स्टेटमेंट से, तो नहीं सॉरी कंसोलिडेटेड फाइनेंशियल स्टेटमेंट से, तो इस लिहाज से हमने जो फाइनेंशियल स्टेटमेंट्स एनालाइज किए वो भी हमने कंसोलिडेटेड फाइनेंशियल स्टेटमेंट से एनालाइज किए, बट जब हमने अभी अपनी कंपनी की रिपोर्ट सही देखी तो उसमें रेशियो एनालिसिस वगैरह जो है वो स्टैंडर्ड से हुआ है, कंसोलिडेटेड से नहीं, तो ये कोई इशू तो नहीं होगा ना कि हमने कंसोलिडेटेड से किया है, रेशियो से नहीं किया, स्टैंडर्ड से नहीं किया.
Okay. So yesterday, actually, I was talking to Azam. Okay. The purpose of this project is, number one, how do you calculate ratios? Okay. The second purpose is, how do you interpret and communicate those ratios? I mean, the results, or let's say, you can let's say, you can communicate it to the outsiders, like the investors. Number one, as an internal, let's say, if you are working for the company as a manager, okay, or you can write it as an independent analyst, okay. So do it the way you like. If you, let's say, analyzed the consolidated statements, that's perfectly fine. If you analyze, let's say, unconsolidated statements, that's also fine, okay, as long as you mention that, okay, you analyze, let's say, consolidated financial statements, okay, and let's say if you're writing as if you're working for the company, or as if you're an external financial analyst, okay. So as I said, the purpose is that you should, number one, learn how to calculate those ratios, and number two, how to interpret those ratios. That's the whole purpose of the project.
Yes, I got it.
And of course, the third one is how to communicate those results.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, any other question, concern? 477, please unmute yourself, yeah?
मैंने पूछना था कि जो project evaluation है, that would be like group based or the group based. Like if there are 4 people in interest, so I'll get marks as like चारों के equally marks आएंगे जितने भी whatever you're evaluating us on, like group basis or the individual basis.
Okay. I think my speaker is very, very bad. So let me put my headphone. Okay. So sorry, what did you say?
Sir, should I repeat?
I can hear you, yeah? What did you say?
Sir, I was asking कि जो project evaluation है, that would be group basis or that would be like individuals. Like maybe I can get more marks than my group mates, or maybe one of my group member can get higher marks than me, or is it just equal marks to like throughout the group members?
Okay, so for the project part, okay, it will be equal marks, because I do not know your individual contribution to the project, number one. When it comes to presentation, and of course the variation will come there. So students who professionally present their project, of course they will get a better mark, yeah, compared to those who did not do a good job on presentation. So the presentation part of the project will actually create that variation. Okay.
Sir, but I think the presentation part will make a really big difference क्योंकि सर कभी किसी का इंटरनेट स्टक हो जाता है, कभी कुछ हो जाता है. I mean, you know the online classes के issues, and
Yes.
we have been going through them all this time. So
Yes.
अगर किसी का bad luck हो गया, अगर किसी का इंटरनेट स्टक हो गया, कोई इस तरह की चीज हो गई, and that person was very well prepared, so whom are you going to blame, the person or the luck?
No, it's actually a combination of like so many things. I wouldn't penalize you, let's say, for bad internet. Okay. But of course, as a teacher, there is no way I can actually ascertain, let's say, contribution of individual students towards the project. Okay. So in the teamwork, of course, you take all the benefit, but you also take all the losses. Okay. So that is not something that I can help with actually.
Okay, sir, thank you. But sir, project के और presentation के marks, can you please repeat again how many marks we are aiming for? Like कितने हैं हमारे marks project के अलग से और presentation के अलग से?
Marks जितनी भी हों, ठीक है, at the end of the day, what will matter actually is the weightage of the project towards your final grade.
Yeah, I meant to ask that the weightage.
Mm-hmm.
कितनी weightage है project and the presentation, both separate?
I think I shared that in my first lecture. So I'll be guessing actually. I think it's around 15% for the project.
सर वो पूछ रही हैं कि आप प्रोजेक्ट और आपका जो होगा वो आप लेंगे जो इंटरेक्टिव सेक्शन में हमसे पूछेंगे, उन दोनों का डिफरेंट रेशियो है या आप दोनों का
नहीं, सेम
जी
सेम.
तो वो आप किस तरह वो हमें जज करेंगे कैसे मार्क्स करें?
ऐसे अगर आप कह रहे हैं कि प्रोजेक्ट का टोटल 15% weightage है, if I'm not wrong.
Yeah.
So 7.5 would be for the project, which is like written report and the analysis, and the 7.5 weightage would be for the presentation for individuals.
Yes.
On individual basis, but the 7.5 project will be the group basis.
That's right.
Okay, fine. Thank you.
Yeah. Any other 477 or 351?
Assalamualaikum sir, this is Usman Shahid. Sir, एक मैंने पूछना था कि if we can send you our project before the final submission, if we're allowed to send you our report before the final submission, so we can mail it to you. अगर आप उसमें कोई changes वगैरह आप review करके बता सकते हैं, recommend कर सकते हैं, if it's allowed. So नहीं
Usman, no.
Yes sir.
So the way it will work, so suppose, let's say, if you have any specific concerns or questions, or let's say if you're stuck somewhere and you need a little bit of guidance, I can certainly do that. Okay. But what I cannot do is actually, if I'll not go through like all the report and then I can give you individual comment and then you go back and try to, let's say, what's it called? Amend that project in light of my comments. I cannot do that.
It's okay, sir. Second, sir, thank you so much, sir. It was an amazing course with you. It was really fun, and thank you for being really supportive. And hopefully, sir, in the future, हम आपके साथ दोबारा course में.
Inshallah, it was pleasure actually, as I said, having you, all of you actually as my students. मैंने first lecture में आपको कहा था, ठीक है, कि my job as a teacher is actually to inspire you, ठीक है, कि आप hard work करें, ठीक है, try to excel in life. अगर मैं नहीं कर सका, I apologize for that, ठीक है. अगर मैं आप लोगों से काम नहीं ले सका, I apologize for that. I take it as my bad, ठीक है. But as I said, it was a wonderful interaction with you. आपका grade अच्छा आए, बुरा आए, again my first lecture, the grade will not define you as a person. ठीक है? अगर आपका grade अच्छा है, I will like you. अगर आपका grade अच्छा नहीं है, I will still like you. ठीक है? तो इसकी फिक्र बिल्कुल ना करें. इसकी फिक्र बिल्कुल ना करें. The only thing I'm concerned, आप 100% अपना दें. That's it. ठीक है? कुछ लोग 100% देंगे, उनका मतलब ग्रेड अच्छा आएगा. कुछ लोग 100% देंगे, हो सकता है उनका इतना अच्छा ना आए. But the only thing which matters in life, in my opinion, ठीक है, क्या आपने मतलब did you give your 100%? ठीक है?
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
You are very welcome. And if you do not have any questions, I think we will call off this meeting. So thank you very much for your attention. As I said, you are very welcome. And as I said, please go through my videos again. Any questions, any concerns, email it to me or maybe drop me.
Thank you, sir.
You are very welcome. All the best.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, thank you.